Hare. Hare Krishna. Maybe someone can bring us the Bhagavatam from this morning. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
This morning we read from Srimad Bhagavatam, and it was quite a long purport, as these purports in this 10th canto, chapter 13, towards the end. Many of them are quite long. This one ended with a particular paragraph, and we spoke this morning a little bit on the other topics of the purport, but we didn't touch this last paragraph. So this evening we'll just reflect a little bit on the last paragraph, which is a very significant paragraph, where Srila Prabhupada speaks. We should discuss Srimad Bhagavatam daily, as much as possible, and then everything will be clarified. For Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic literatures. Nigamaka Pitaro Galitam Palam. It was written by Vyasadeva, Mahamuni Kute, when he was self-realized. Thus, the more we read Srimad Bhagavatam, the more its knowledge becomes clear. Each and every verse is transcendental. So just in 6 lines there, Srila Prabhupada, 5 lines, has given very clear directions. We should read as much as possible daily, or it should be said, we should discuss Srimad Bhagavatam daily, and we should discuss it as much as possible. It's the second of those two. We should read daily as much as we can and discuss it. Everything will then become clarified. For Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic literature. The more we read Srimad Bhagavatam, the more its knowledge becomes clear. Each and every verse is transcendental. Quite clear, I think. Whatever anyone may say, there are different statements which may infer otherwise, but here Srila Prabhupada is making it quite clear. We should read it daily, everything will become clear. Of course, we understand from Srimad Bhagavatam that the Srimad Bhagavatam is literary incarnation of Godhead, spoken by the empowered incarnation of Godhead. It's also, Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, read my books. All my ecstasies are in my books, especially in the purports. Especially. So we're going to read some things. I need the first canto of Bhagavatam, if possible, please. They're not in any particular order. They're just as they are. This is from the Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada is... I don't know what this is. Some video things just come on the screen. Something to do with the last class. It was recording it or something. I don't know what it was doing. Something. So in the Nectar of Devotion, in the section which describes Krishna's qualities being a fluent speaker, Prabhupada quotes Uddhava, or Rupa Goswami quotes Uddhava, and Prabhupada has translated, I don't know. The words of Krishna are so attractive that they can immediately change the heart of even his opponent. His words can immediately solve all the questions and problems of the world. Although he does not speak very long, each and every word from his mouth contains volumes of meaning. These speeches of Krishna are very pleasing to my heart. So this, each and every word, Prabhupada said, each and every word has meaning. They're completely transcendental. One word. Prabhupada, in this famous... maybe? No. It is famous also. Each and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam, full of volumes of explanation. Each and every word. You can hardly conceive of that practically. But each and every word, Prabhupada said, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Vidya Bhagavata Vadi. One's learning will be understood when he's able to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Vidya means learning, not this science, that science. We waste so much of our time studying mundane knowledge. Much of our life has been occupied in that direction, maybe to some extent still is. But this is the real science, this is the real value, is to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, not to understand all the details of this phenomenal world. One can understand Srimad Bhagavatam in truth perspective. Then he is to be understood that he has finished all of his educational advancement. You don't need anything else. What is the need of any other scripture? If we look in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first chapter, in fact, these famous verses are there. Just by hearing Srimad, don't forget, Prabhupada said, just by reading or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, everything will become clear. Now, the first verse is absolutely important, but I'm going to go to the second one. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavat Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. There's another qualification, understandable. It's not just a learning technique, memory or cleverly putting things together in a logical way, and reasoning and so on. That may be used, but that's not the real essence. It's those devotees who are fully pure in heart can understand the Bhagavatam. It becomes revealed, clear. The process also of hearing the Bhagavatam is a process of purifying the heart. But to actually understand the Bhagavatam, very hard. There's a very interesting verse spoken by Lord Kapila Deva, I think, in the third canto, which is a verse spoken by, I don't know, he's quoting, I'm not sure, where he says there something like, Vyasadeva, I may or may not understand the Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva may not understand the Bhagavatam. He's the compiler. And maybe you can find that verse, Vasika.
I'll try.
I do have it on the computer here. It's a fascinating verse. But to understand it is not easy. It's not just by, remembering and quoting things and putting it into place. It's a realization. What he's talking is actually very difficult to understand. The actual essence, there's no end. You can never. Even Lord Brahma says, who am I? He's the creator of the universe. He's the greatest living entity in the universe, in one sense, without a doubt. But even he was perplexed. No living entity can fully understand. Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. No one can fully understand the Bhagavatam. We understand what the Lord reveals to us. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. And that's the goal of all knowledge, is to realize God. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the messages of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart. Culture. It's a culture. We talk about culture. Cultural revolution. Huh? This is the cultural revolution. It's this entering into the spirit of Srimad Bhagavatam. Look up Vyasadeva. If they're all on the same verse, Vyasadeva, Shukadev.
I'm not sure if it's the same one or a similar one, but I found it in the CC Madhya.
Ah, yeah, you got it. That's Lord Shiva speaking. He says, I may know, Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, may know, Vyasadeva may know or may not know Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's the compiler. On the whole, Srimad Bhagavatam, the spotless Purana, can be learned only through devotional service, not by material intelligence, speculative methods, or imaginary commentaries. Thank you. It just goes to show that this is not a light subject like reading a book on history or something, or mechanics, whatever it is, engineering. This is a realized subject matter. Realized. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literature. It emanated from the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Relish this Srimad Bhagavatam. And we hear in this same chapter, or the next chapter, we hear how important it is. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata seva. I think we all know that verse. Huh? You know this verse? Nityam bhagavata sevaya. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu. You know this verse? Nityam bhagavata sevaya. Come on, you're a scholar. Bhagavati utama shloke. Bhakti
Bhagavati Nashtiki.
Naishtiki means
Almost new.
by regular attendance, or actually, the translation, the original one said by regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering all of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So that attraction to the Lord by regularly hearing the Bhagavatam and rendering service, they should go together, then a relationship or attachment to Krishna becomes established, a irrevocable fact. And it goes on. There's some beautiful verses here in the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto, right at the end. Let's see, where should we start here? I'll go back one or two. Text 43, famous verse. Krishna svadama pagate dharma jnana dibi saha kalo nashta drishamesha purana ko dunoditaha. This Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision. Very dark, I can't see anything here. I've lost my vision. It's too dark. They closed the window or something, have they? Why have we got these outside windows closed? I don't understand it. What's the point of closing them?
Maybe for the sun.
The sun for what? It doesn't do anything. Close the inside one. It just damages the windows. You have to keep opening them, and that's what damages them. Now I can see a little bit. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. This is the answer, of course. The sages asked this question. To whom have religious principles gone to? Now Krishna's departed. So here Vyasadeva is saying, or Sutta Goswami is rather saying, they've gone to the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is now present. And the last verse of this chapter, Sutta Goswami says, O learned Brahmins, when Sukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it. The process of hearing, proper hearing with rapt attention. You know what this word rapt means? What does it mean?
Very concentrated.
Very concentrated, yeah. Focused, completely absorbed in, like that.
On the edge of your seat here. Like you're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, you're really... sometimes people see people watching something on the television. They're watching with rapt attention. You can't get their attention, huh? You can't distract them. They're focused on what they're doing. When he's in the rose garden, he's rapt attention on the roses, Krishna's roses. Prabhupada writes, one can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Sri Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatam, if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Shukadeva Goswami. Then he goes on about the importance of learning from the right person, not from the bogus hired person. But Prabhupada at the end of the purport says here, simply hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. Proper attention. The word nivishta means that Sutta Goswami drank the juice of the Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or another, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning one can assuredly see Lord Krishna in person in the pages of the Bhagavatam. And there are so many other verses in this particular vein, but we're just going to briefly read a few points here now. Each and every word, it's a lecture of Prabhupada in 1969. Each and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam, full of volumes of explanation. We read that, I think. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Vidya Bhagavata Vadi. One's learning will be understood when he's able to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. We covered this already. Avadi means this is the limit of education, to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. And in one Purana, Prabhupada says, you will find 18,000 verses, and each and every word is so meaningful that you study throughout your whole life. Oh, still you will find refreshed. It's ever fresh. It's never stagnant. You can read the Bhagavatam a million times and it's ever fresh. Because each time you get new realization. It's just like you're reading it for the first time practically. This is the nature. It never becomes hackneyed. It's transcendental. But that was from 1969 also, when Prabhupada was staying with John Lennon, he spoke. This each and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam is full of meaning. If one word is explained, it will take 3 hours. That much time we haven't got. We have to describe everything very shortly. That was in 1970. Even early days, Prabhupada is talking like this. Each word, also 1971, each word, that is the significance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Each and every word is so selected, so rightly placed that you cannot suggest anything better than. We may not realize it at the time, but it's perfect. Srimad Bhagavatam is perfect and complete. These are the Bhagavat. There is no comparison. There is no literature throughout the universe like Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no comparison. There is no competition. Every word is for the good of human society. Every word, each and every word. Therefore we stress so much in the book distribution. Somehow or another, if the book goes in one's hand, he will be benefited. At least he will see, oh, they have taken so much price, let me see what is there. If he reads one shloka, his life will be success. If he reads one shloka, one word, this is such nice things. Therefore we are stressing so much. Please distribute book, distribute book, distribute book. A greater Madanga. We are chanting, playing our Madanga. It is heard within this room or little more. But this Madanga will go home to home, country to country, community to community. This Madanga. Famous quote of Prabhupada. What was Keshwar Maharaj saying the other day about something or another, this movement? Maybe everyone, I don't know if he said everyone will leave, Prabhupada said, but the movement will carry on because the books are already there. Remember what he said? Someone will pick it up, read the books and start it all up again.
Yeah, heard that. I was not there, but I know that quote.
He said it's too late.
Huh?
He said it's too
Oh,
late.
it's too late. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm afraid you can't stop it. The poison's already there. It's like a bomb, an atomic bomb. It's too late, you know. The radiation's already there. Boom. Even though the bomb may have subsided, the radiation is still there. It still works. So Prabhupada says it's too late. Even if you all say it's too much, go away. Still it will carry on because the books are there. It's a fact. So many people, they never met a devotee. They don't even know what it happened to me. I never saw a devotee. I didn't know what they looked like, basically. But I read two pieces of literature, and I was immediately made my way, first opportunity to the temple to go further. But these books are very powerful in igniting the flame in people's hearts. To see what happened in Russia, because Alexei, he had a little association with Prabhupada, but basically alone he spread Krishna consciousness in communist Russia at the time, USSR. Very powerful. Srimad Bhagavatam being so important, he delivered the message first to his great son. Srila Sukadeva Goswami is compared to the cream of the milk. Vedic literature is like the milk ocean of knowledge. Cream or butter is the most palatable essence of milk. And so also is Srimad Bhagavatam, for it contains all palatable, instructive and authentic versions of different activities of the Lord and his devotees. Right on time, I said 7:30 and there we are. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any comments or questions? You could go on and quote hundreds of verses. I didn't have time. Here you go, Vedant.
Yeah, the problem in Kali Yuga is to find people who can have a fixed mind.
Yeah, you won't find many people with a fixed mind, you're right.
A lot of difficulty to find people with equilibrated mind.
Yeah.
And on those who are almost equilibrated, it's difficult to concentrate in the spiritual vibration.
Yeah, that's why in the verse Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu particularly, and Prabhupada also mentions in Nectar Devotion, that those who are not ready, then they must engage in service. And Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata, service to the pure devotees, Sevaya, is essential also. And, it's not that you study all day long, but we should hear Bhagavatam, even if we don't realize it, even if we don't really understand it, we still should hear it. And gradually the realization will come by regular hearing and by rendering service, submissive service to the devotees of the Lord. That's the process. Shushushosha Dadanasya, we mentioned this morning. By serving those devotees who are pure in heart, great service is done by such service. One develops an affinity for hearing the messages of Srimad Bhagavatam. By rendering that service, the pure devotees are pleased, the Lord is pleased, and he gives us a little fraction in time, a little realization in time as our heart becomes cleared of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a fact in this age, people are manda samanda mati or manda pago, upadruta, they're very disturbed, quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, short-lived. People can't focus it's getting worse and worse. Now there's so many people, they can't even, for 1 minute hardly, focus on something. It's very difficult. They're always changing. One time Prabhupada said, at least that's what we're told by Prabhupada's servant, that he said, the devotee said, the devotee was sick, maybe it was a servant, he said, Prabhupada said, so what are you doing? He said, I'm sick, Srila Prabhupada, so what are you doing? He said, I can't do anything, I can only chant. And Prabhupada said, that is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be chanting. But because you can't do it all the time, I have to give you so many services to do, to keep you engaged. Of course, we have a mission, we have a need. No doubt, so many things have to be done, but ultimately, the objective is to be satatam kirtiyantumam, to be always engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord, ultimately. Whatever we're doing, etc., for the sake of the mission, or the sake of our own needs. sake of others, etc., or the requests of the Guru or the spiritual masters. But in reality, that's the nature of the spiritual world. Everyone's engaged in kirtan, glorifying the Lord. To always hear, chant and remember the name, fame, glorious pastimes of the Lord. In one sense, that's what the temple is meant to provide, a facility for that. Many things go on, but that's the primary essence around the worship of the deities, is the kirtan, the glorification of the Lord, together with all the other services. But this is the essential one, the hearing and chanting about. That will change our heart. Other things, we often end up doing things which are according to our conditioned nature. And unless we hear and chant sufficiently from the right source, our conditioned nature will continue to remain our nature. But the whole purpose is not to remain on the level of conditioned nature. It's to change our nature, to understand our true identity, our true nature. So together with that service, we must hear. Both must go on. Otherwise, all sorts of envy, pride, so many things can easily evolve. Attachments and whatever, all kinds of unwanted things may take place. Careful hearing the holy name, hearing Bhagavatam carefully, as much as we can. And in the beginning, we may not be able to hear carefully because, as Giri Govardhan has pointed out, people are disturbed. They can't concentrate. Their minds are not pure. But the service will purify, kirtan will purify. Everything's purification, but it takes time before that purification. And then the realization. Realization means seeing. Pratyaksha-vagamam dharmyam susukam kartam aviyam. It's not just a theoretical and acceptance, it's an actual vision. To realize it's not just... Sometimes it's used a little loosely. Yeah, I realize I'm not the body, but it's more than that, Our heart's pure. We have to hear from those who've seen the truth, hear from them because they've seen the truth. They can impart the path, the process whereby we can also become eligible that Krishna reveals himself. Yes, Thomas.
Maybe it's a little complex question, but we quoted two things. One was that Srila Prabhupada said that based on the books, even if everything gets lost, in the future if somebody picks up the book, he's able to start everything over again.
Somebody may be able to, not everybody.
And then there's this verse we quoted, I forget the verse, and it was like, by service to the devotee or the Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord who is glorified by transcendental songs is realized in the heart.
Yeah.
You know what verse I'm...
Yeah, well, this is
the one you were asking and nobody...
Isn't that the verse you just quoted?
So I remember...
Here, in the second chapter. Well, I'll go back a few verses, they're all fantastic. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. With sword in hand, it doesn't literally mean sword as such, sword of knowledge, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed of all vice, great service is done. By such service one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. We read that earlier. Yeah. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and becomes completely happy. Thus established in a mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master.
So my question is in the verse that by rendering service to the devotee or the Bhagavatam, there also in the purport Prabhupada mentions that it says people fail to realize that by service to the Bhagavat devotee or the person Bhagavat and or to the book Bhagavat, one is able to achieve all perfection. So in combination with this quote that Swami Bhagavatam Maharaj mentioned, I'm wondering if somebody in the future, his content doesn't exist anymore, he takes up the Bhagavatam, he will be continuing the Bhagavat Sampradaya then?
Maybe what?
Like if somebody in the future, this one is not there, or maybe he's in some country, I don't know.
He'll be continuing the what?
Prabhupada says that if somebody gets the Bhagavatam...
Yeah, I know all that. It's just that word after continuing. I didn't
Bhagavat
get it.
Sampradaya? So instead of the
I would be continuing the Bhagavat Sampradaya.
Yeah, would he be able to continue the Bhagavat Sampradaya?
Well, everything's possible. Depends who he is.
I mean, a normal person, not like a...
Well, he won't be a normal person.
Like how to say it? Not a Shaktavesh avatar, but...
He will start something, then Krishna will send somebody along to guide him.
But, I mean, no Gaudiya Vaishnava, so to say.
Somebody will come along. You know, there was no Bhagavad Gita in the Western world until Prabhupada came. None. None at all. You know, Krishna will send someone along. Prabhupada went to Moscow. There was no Bhagavad Gita. Alexei came along. And Prabhupada spoke to him for an hour. And from there, the whole movement evolved in Russia. Somehow or another, the Lord will have a plan. What Prabhupada is saying is not necessarily that's what will happen, but it's not going to happen like that most likely. But the point is that these books are so powerful and so potent that they can change people's hearts, even without the personal association. However, Krishna will send a personal association along in due course of time. Or they'll come to that association. That will generally take place. That's how it normally works. Now, as you say, we're a normal person doesn't mean you're a Shakti Vaishavatar who has appeared in the world to re-establish the disciplic succession. You're a person, in the public person. You obviously, if someone studies the Bhagavatam, they're not an ordinary person. They're not an ordinary person. No ordinary person is going to sit down and study the Bhagavatam on his own from beginning to end, and then again study it and really, take it as his life and soul. Not an ordinary person, but there are people who do that even without devotion, without association. There are people who are doing that. They're already previous lifetime. So maybe devotees come back again in previous lifetime and do like that. We have to render service. What service? Chanting Hare Krishna is service. Many people start chanting Hare Krishna without ever meeting a devotee. Many. Following the book and how to chant, not just because it's they heard it on the movies or something, but because they got the proper process from reading the proper books, of doing these things. Many people have followed the regulated principles just by reading Prabhupada's books, without meeting a devotee. Happens many times. Many people, even he did meet a devotee, of course, but Emile. He, before even coming here, he had a group chanting Hare Krishna on the other side of France. He organized. So these things are possible. But rare. It's not an ordinary person. I think Prabhupada is just emphasizing the importance of associating with his books. How powerful it is. I mean, Prabhupada I thought I had it there, but it wasn't there. That famous quote of, I read it the other day, actually, Shiva Ramaraj mentioned it in one of his Vyasa Puja homilies, but I heard from Bhagavat Prabhu, one of Prabhupada's earlier disciples, that he was with Tamal Krishna Maharaj one day and they were Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada asked him to quote some verse. Many times Prabhupada said, what's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna talks about something or another, like that? What is it? And they looked at each other and Bhagavat looked at Tamal. Tamal said, you do it, you answer. Neither of them knew it. And Prabhupada, this is the problem, Prabhupada said with my disciples, you're not reading my books. I've written these books for you, you're not reading them. He said, Prabhupada said, even I read my books. Even I read my own books. You know why I read my books? Well, we know, but they weren't sure. I mean, because you wrote them. Prabhupada. It's kind of like funny, you're reading your own books, you realize the subject matter. Why are you reading them? Prabhupada reading them. He said, I'll tell you why I read these books. Because when I sit down to translate and comment on these books at night, Krishna sits next to me and tells me what to write. It's not just some clever person taking things from here and there and putting it together in a way that some people will, follow. It's directly dictated, just like the Govinda Bhasya was dictated to Bhaladeva Jabhusan by Govinda. The words of Govinda. The pure devotees are directly directed from within by the Lord. He's actually guiding them. It doesn't mean he's guiding their grammatical, writing, but the subject matter, the essence is being totally guided by the Lord. Probably would engage others in correcting the English or whatever. It's not like that. But the points, the subject, the Lord is directly guiding. You're associating with the Supreme Lord. That's why. Associate. Prabhupada used to relish, especially Krishna book, he used to relish reading Krishna book. He liked the was to read it to him regularly. He'll always be reading whenever there's a spare moment. Don't lose the opportunity. Hare Krishna. Okay, we've gone way over time. Way over time. It's 10 to 8. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.